is going on, everybody? Welcome into Weekly Cheddar. Once again, Jake Shavink here with you guys. A little bit of an impromptu sort of stream tonight. Hope you guys are excited for that. There's a lot to talk about today from a Packers perspective. There's always plenty to talk about from an NFL draft perspective. So we're gonna dive into all that tonight. Take a look at some stuff that went down today in Packerland. We'll talk about kind of the fallout from that. We'll talk about, who are going to be some guys that Green Bay's going to be looking at this offseason, and we're obviously going to do a mock draft. But as always, bring those questions, and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. We'll be here as long as you want to be. Hopefully that doesn't mean 8 hours. United Bates came over, said what's going on. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. Get ready to go. I love that PTA uses that. It's very, very funny. So yeah, let's as people kind of maybe trickle in here, realize we're going live and all that. Let's get to some final thoughts on the Senior Bowl really quick. Just because I really didn't get to do kind of a recap stream or anything like that. A couple things to note from that recap. I think quarterbacks. I think QB3 is still wide open. Cam Ward, Cheddar Sanders, top two quarterbacks. Jackson Dart and Milroe had a chance to sort of elevate their stock. Didn't really do it. Didn't seem like they had command of a lot of what was going on. Some accuracy issue stuff, some procedural stuff, some operational stuff. Like there was a lot going on there. Quinn Ewers, Will Howard got to feel good about themselves at this point in the process in that sort of competition for QB3. Running backs, it's hard to decipher a lot from running backs other than the game stuff, but Rashard Smith from SMU is somebody you should be talking about at this point. If you aren't, start doing so. At receiver, obviously the Iowa State guys got a lot of buzz out of Senior Bowl weekend, as they should have. Jalen Noel was phenomenal, right? He, making some circus catches, some toe tappers, finding a way to separate. I think Higgins did a pretty nice job as well. Pat Bryant did pretty well, other than, again, he doesn't have the explosiveness, but when you look at all the advanced metrics for Pat Bryant, not even as an Illinois homer, because honestly, I wasn't like, I was excited he was there. I wasn't like beaming at the idea of Green Bay or anybody really like taking a high pick and using it to select Pat Bryant, but there's reason to be talking about that for sure, just in terms of how productive he was in his last couple seasons, especially with the advanced metric stuff, touchdown percentage, market share, all that good stuff. And yeah, Jack Besh, of course, what a moment on the Saturday for him in the Senior Bowl to catch that winning touchdown. He has done some really nice things over the past over that past week. There is some optimism there in terms of where he could potentially play. Right, you look at a potential big slot, like how could that work out? He can go up and make those plays. He can adjust to the football. He's got all those ball skills as well. Tight ends should be looking good. Mason Taylor had a great week, I think, overall. Offensive line, obviously, if Gray Zabel's not your winner there, I don't know who is, right? You get Josh Connerly Jr. So there were plenty of big-time winners during the week. Quincy Riley from Louisville had an awesome week at corner, which is tough to do. And Willie Lampkin, who, kind of highlighted as a 5'10", 270-pound defensive or offensive lineman who played guard for 2 years at North Carolina, goes in there, plays center, and does a pretty nice job. Obviously, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, big winners at edge. And even though Mike Green ran through a guy in Josh Connerly Jr. From Oregon still gets the award for best O-lineman from his peers during the week. So, yeah, a little bit of a mini quick recap there in terms of the Senior Bowl. If you guys have any other guys you want to hit on there, we will do that. Let's get rolling to what happened today, I think, because it's big news, and it's something that perhaps ruffled some feathers, but I mean, at the same time, these are the kind of, I think, conversations you need to be having. And I kind of ranted about this on Derailed last night, but I want to hit on it again, just simply because, I think it's worth talking about. Essentially, so Josh Jacobs today on 97.3, right? it kind of said, again, and I encourage you to watch the whole video. I'm not gonna play the audio from it, but I encourage you to go see it. Essentially, he's saying, I like all of what our guys do in the room, and there's so many of them that have the potential to be special, right? But he also said, you kind of needed a guy that's proven to be a one already. Like, he's hoping for guys to be wide receiver ones in the room as I'm trying to type this heading, so it's not the Senior Bowl heading. But like that's essentially what he's talking about. He said, like, we need to get better at certain spots. We need to get better at edge. We need to get better at receiver. Like, these are the things we should be talking about and should be having discussions about and should be in on conversations about, right? Because at wide receiver, to me, at this point, okay, what my thought is on this is I don't mind what Green Bay tried to do here. I don't mind 2 back-to-back years of taking receivers where, let's build it by committee. Let's see how that works, right? How can these styles mesh, get different types of players in the room, right? You go get the Christian Watson, big, fast. You're hoping that he develops more as a player. You go get your Romeo Doubs, reliable, run some good routes. I think still need to fill out the tree and how he ran routes, but I think he's improved in that regard. He's made tough catches, right? So you get that player in the room. Then you get Reed, gadget, speed, yak player, slot, maybe a little bit of Z, maybe some stretching field player in January. You go outside your thresholds to get that guy, right? And then you go get Dontavian Wicks, who, great separator, right? Found a way to be kind of a deep threat with all of the tempo and hesitation and everything that he puts into his craft as a route runner. Showed it as a rookie, right? So you get this. You get the Watson breakout kind of late in year one. You see a little bit of that. He's battled some injuries. Then he tears the ACL, and you kind of see the trickle-down effect of what big and fast and explosive and how he's been generating big plays all year in his 3rd season that kind of go, okay, this is kind of like you've put this puzzle together with these 4 guys. Maybe 5. You want to count Bo Melton, sure. Malik Heath you can throw in there. You've built this puzzle. But when a big piece of the puzzle who kind of stretched things out for you and was a big part of your explosive passing game goes down, and he was also your most reliable receiver all year in terms of securing the football, catching the football, just 1 drop. The rest had at least 7 or more. You get to a point where, okay, the puzzle came apart. The Jenga tower is falling. And when guys don't step up or take steps back, Reed and Wicks had really promising first seasons. Reed had a really strong start to year 2 and then tails off. Wicks tails off. He can't catch the football again. Doubs is obviously battled concussions, gets suspended, right? We can put that behind him, but like inconsistencies as well. So when your most consistent and most explosive receiver goes down this year, it turns you into have to march down the field 14, 15 plays. That's what the Eagles were going to ask you to do, and you didn't do it by season's end. And you just, the inconsistencies were there, right? And having that inconsistency leads to poor execution. That's the problem, right? So what Jacobs is, I think, pointing out isn't like, again, he could be at the same time motivating these young receivers to step up, and I think they will have every opportunity to do so, right? Especially because, quite frankly, right, with Watson down, one of those spots has to be filled, and somebody's going to have to fill it, and there's going to probably be competition to fill it, right? So you get that, but somebody else can, come in and potentially take over, right? He's saying all these guys have the potential, but he's also saying, like, listen, we need a guy who's going to be the chain mover, who's going to execute, who can create for us, because as I've kind of pointed out as well, when you don't have the Mahomes, when you don't have the Allen, right, it's easy to go and point those guys out as guys without the wide receiver 1 that don't have it. You could put Lamar Jackson in there as well, okay? But when you don't have that guy, when you don't have the bona fide top 4 elite of elite, truthfully, I think top 4, if you're a top 4 quarterback, you're elite. If you're not, you're not. That's just how it is to me. If you don't have that, you should be doing what the Eagles are doing, okay? What do the Eagles do? They go get Jalen Hurts. They say, okay, there's some success there. we're going to see if he's the guy. We're going to get A.J. Brown. We're going to draft Devonta Smith, right? We're going to get guys in there to help him out. And that isn't to say that Green Bay isn't trying to help Jordan Love out, because they drafted all these guys to help him out. There's no doubt. However, at some point you either have to step up as sort of a kind of in the draft in terms of like, okay, we're getting these guys with promise on day 2, day 3. Maybe we need to go get the bona fide guy earlier, right? Maybe we just need to, to look at that. Maybe we need to kind of change how we view the number 1 wide receiver, because I know this is a tough conversation. Last year's receiver class was outstanding. I had 7 potential wide receiver 1s in that class to me. Guys who could reach that point. Green Bay didn't pick any of them, and they had chances to do so. And I know the Ladd McConkey argument is going to be he was small. They're going to view him as a slot. Maybe that's on Green Bay to start changing their ways in terms of how they view guys. Because to me, if you're viewing a guy as an X because he's big and a small guy as a slot because he's small, like that, you have to change your thought process there. Garrett Wilson can be an X, and he's 5'11", mid 180s. Ladd McConkey can be an X. Same thing, 5'10", 180 some pounds. Keon Coleman, bigger. He's not an X. You saw it this year. What were his big plays? Broken plays or skying for the football? So they something has to be changed in terms of how they view players, because of how the league is changing a little bit, but also, you have to sort of maybe make that more aggressive of a move. And it doesn't mean trading multiple 1s for a receiver necessarily. It doesn't mean throwing $30 million at receiver. It's just saying, can we take a different avenue? Can we go where we haven't gone in a long time to find that guy? Green Bay had Sharp for Favre. Green Bay had Jennings for Rodgers when he came in. They had Driver as the reliable guy. Jordy proved to be the guy who stepped up. They kept doing it. James Jones, they did as much as they could. Right. And then as those contracts moved off, they got younger, right? And they kind of let Rodgers be that carrier, and they focused elsewhere, right? So my deal is you need to push some chips in, right? You don't have the elite quarterback, at least yet. Maybe we do, but you don't have it right now. So until you find out you have it, more resources necessary. And it's awesome that they Green Bay decided to go get a running back that could be more multiple with their scheme, could be more, gap friendly, right? In terms of how they could run the football. That helped, right? That helped. Keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. Put all of your resources where you do whatever you can, right? Goody has talked about the urgency of what this window is right now with a lot of young guys, right? This is that window. I don't care if it's going to get Myles Garrett. I don't care if it's going to get Max Crosby, right? I think they're going to have conversations about all of it, Khalil Mack, all of that with edge and wide receiver. They're probably going to have those conversations, right? And they're still going to be very tactical and very, deliberate about the approach. They're not just going to do whatever to do whatever. But I do think you have to kind of put a foot forward a little bit more, right? So that's the deal. All right, Adam Huddle says Cedric Tillman is a similar player comp for Pat Bryant. Yeah, maybe that's more productive version of Cedric Tillman. I think more reliable, right? I think that's the deal. So I do think that's a possible one there. Don't mind that one. But I do think there's kind of more like terms of like that's production. We can do that. So yeah, that's not bad. Outside United Bates, outside Adams, so you think the Pack might pursue to fit that role? So I think outside of Tay, there, it gets a little thinner, right? In terms of like, if it depends on I guess it depends on what you want, right? Do you want the true X? If you're looking for the true X, you're probably not going to find a lot of them in this class. It's not going to be as easy as the last one, right? Where like we can come over here and look at this and real quick. But in terms of the vets, yeah, I think it's got to be DK, right, via a trade if Seattle would like to go that route. I think it's Garrett Wilson via a trade. Those are probably the two. Cup doesn't fill that unless you want like do it all slot Z can block type of player. But if you want the true X, outside of Tay, it's probably Wilson and it's probably DK. And the other thing is, right, I think is a big part of this is, are you trying to replace explosiveness? Like, is explosiveness going to be your main goal this offseason? Now, Garrett Wilson has some of that for sure. DK definitely has that, right? So is that going to be a priority, right, at receiver, rather than like, okay, maybe we don't need the X necessarily, but we need the field stretcher back. We need some more size. We need some more speed. That does limit the options a little bit, but that's a different avenue you can also take, right? If you want to bide time for the receiver one, potentially. But I do think they have to explore any option. But, yeah, I think in free agency or via trade, United Bates, it's got to be Wilson or it's got to be DK. I'm not sure T. Higgins at 28 to 30 million is giving you that much more. Other than maybe the catch radius than some of the other guys, right? And obviously reliability catching the football, that's a big part of that. But, Adam Huddle says, but can Ladder Wilson block a linebacker on the edge? That's unfortunately what Green Bay really cares about. Listen, if you want to find good blockers only, like this is my problem though. Green Bay has to tweak their thought process a little bit if they want to truly get a lot better, right? Like if they want to get a ton better, like there are going to be options, right? The perfect options right here, right? If you want this is the guy that's like block a linebacker on the edge, get open, catch the football, right? But is he a true X? I don't think Emeka Ibuka is right now. I don't think he is. I think he can be very, very good, right? Like, I think Ibuka has a very, very bright future at receiver. I just don't think, if you want the exceptional wide receiver one ceiling, you can stick him on the perimeter and he can just go dominate. And again, the true number ones move all over the place to get the ball. But I think Ibuka is going to be a little more confined to his role. But this kind of fits more of what Green Bay would obviously want in their receivers. So that's, Adam, we're going to circle back to this because we're going to talk about the draft prospects, right? I think so. I'm gonna star this one so we can kind of come back to that and talk about the some of these guys and go kind of down this board a little bit. Adam Huddle also says, definitely agree. A 1 would be great, but outside of Seattle trading DK, what avenue does Green Bay have? Yeah, it's Garrett Wilson if he doesn't want to play with Rodgers, right? That might be all. There really aren't a ton of options. That's what makes this tough, and that's why it's, as much as it was like, oh, it's not a need last year. Yeah, it's not, but not necessarily, and I get what you're trying to do, but also like the strength at the top of the draft was some of these receivers, and you kind of had some opportunities there, right? A.D. Mitchell. Maybe you could have snuck up a couple spots for Brian Thomas, right? So that's, they kind of had some of those guys to kind of go after. We talked about all three of those guys, right? We knew the top three were going to go off way before Green Bay picked, right? The Neighbors, Harrison, and Adunes, they were going to be picked well before. But we talked a lot. We talked a lot about, BTJ, Adonai Mitchell, and Ladd. We talked about them a ton. About would you do it at in the 20s? Would you do it in the early 40s? Like, we had those conversations a bunch. And there's a reason we had them, because I think a lot of us were like, those are the guys you should go after because this is the class to go after it. And it just didn't happen. And again, that isn't to say that the draft doesn't look good at this point, right? You got your edge Cooper, right? You have, I think 3 safeties who didn't all have great years, but I think you Promise with Evan Williams, promise from Javon Bullard at times. Oladapo got some snaps in. That's good. And, that's a good start. Jordan Morgan's going to be interesting. The third rounders are going to be interesting, right? Hopper and Lloyd going forward. But, when it comes to a successful draft, I think that's a really fun thing to define. And I'm going to probably ask that on Twitter at some point. Just kind of like, what's a successful draft to you? Because I know the draft is tough because you want this player and you don't want this player sometimes. And, you see some elite drafts and you want to be there, but you want to be at that point, but that's not the reality. But I think it'd be fun to kind of have that conversation as well. Lee, what's going on, says, hey, everybody, wasn't Dobbs stacking DBs the past 2 training camps left and right? No, he doesn't have that elite top speed, but you think he can get more shots the past couple of years downfield. Yeah, I think to this, I can't wait to see what year 3 was for him. That's something I'm going to be doing soon here, is kind of looking at all 4 receivers this past year. I've gotten a better look at Watson and Wicks, especially just because, I was hopeful on Wicks, and I was kind of like, okay, what's Watson need to do? I didn't really zero in on Dobbs this past year, but what I do remember as a rookie and a little bit going into year 2 for him was he was good at stacking because he could use that tempo and that short area burst to stack. But when I think you saw him thinking a little bit more and adjusting his aggressiveness in the body language in his stem, you could kind of tell when it wasn't a vertical route with him a lot. Like, you could tell he was thinking about when he's gearing down, or he was getting up higher early to go try to cut. And that's something that I think, when you treat everything vertically, when you have that ability, it's so beneficial to you because, you have that ability to drop the hips and get in and out of breaks. But with the comebacks, the curls, in-out breakers, right? So when you have that good body language, you're not tipping anything. And it felt like Dobbs was tipping a little bit, but when you told him, okay, he needs to be on a go route, he was so good at setting that up with the tempo, right? And I think that's where, if you want to give him those shot plays, I think you can. But there was a lot of times with Dobbs where it felt like sometimes you knew what at least relatively knew what the route was going to be based on the body language coming out of, out of the first 2 steps. And that was, I think, the biggest thing. I want to see if that's any different this year for him. But that could be something where when he knows when he's running vertical, so he knows how to set it up. That's my guess on that. Lee, that's initially what I'm thinking of. But that doesn't mean he can't get those shots. It just seemed like early on you could tell. And when he knew what he needed to do, those vertical shots, he was always in a good position for that. That's something that the Packers maybe should be talking about more, though, is like, yeah, we should maybe give him some of these shots. Because, yeah, he did have downfield wins in college, too. So, at Nevada. So, there was that. He could be. I think they got to exhaust those options for Dobbs, for Reed, to potentially be that guy, right? Of like, stretch the field. Jaden Reed's had big plays down the field. Remember the Pittsburgh game? Like, in Love's first season as a starter, it was like, yeah, he can make those big plays down the field. He runs those corner routes in the red zone. You get him vertical in a lot of spots, and that worked. So I don't know if it was very, okay, I pigeonholed a lot of these guys, and I don't want them doing more things than I'm asking them to do. Maybe that's another conversation, right, on the offseason with the offense. So, yeah, that's interesting there. BX Jedi says, forget Higgins. Good is not bringing another guy who gets hurt a lot. Yeah, I don't think they're chasing Higgins. That's just a lot of money. That's just too much money, in my opinion, for that. So, yeah, I'm pretty out on doing that stuff. Need to get Dobbs and Alexander off the team. Why Dobbs? I get the Alexander frustrations, right? He hasn't been healthy. Right, his personality is a little out there. He was obviously frustrated end of season, right, with the comments. And again, frustration, you get emotional. That happens, right? Us fans do the same way. We get emotional. We say things, that we maybe don't mean. Again, and then when he said that, me as an emotional fan was like, all right, cool. we'll trade you then, and I'm going to just put your trade in every mock I do going forward. So, like, that was me being emotional as well. No doubt Alexander's still the best corner on this roster at the moment, but that the room needs to be upgraded no matter what. If he's off the team, if he's on the team, it's something they can't ignore. As far as Dobbs goes, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one, but Adam says, think that's the problem is Green Bay typically their Green Bay typical wide receiver is rare and super limits the pool they will pick from. Yeah, it kind of does. I would love to know, truly would love to know. I think we all know how they probably felt about Ladd. I kind of talked about it at the top. But I would be interested to see how they felt about A.D. Mitchell if it was just more of like the personality thing of like, okay, is this – because obviously he fell due to some stuff, right? Was it fair or not? I don't know. It seemed maybe leaning on the side of not fair. But there was definitely – you definitely saw it in year one with Mitchell, right, as a Colt that there are things to clean up. But there's the separation ability is there. So maybe he just thought, there's a lot to clean up there. Is he a year away from being a year away type of thing? Would love to know what he thought of Brian Thomas Jr. as well. So, yeah, obviously, Adam, we know he would have liked Rome. Like, Rome Odunze is like – Rome Odunze, Goody liked Rome Odunze. There's no question. So, Adam Vincic, Steelers fan here. I remember Adam. Yeah, you've popped in on streams before. Steelers from here, from an outsider like yourself, who would you be looking at for the Steelers? I like this. Well, it's good that we've got the draft board open, Adam. We'll take a peek at that. I think there should be a lot in consideration, right? Just because George Pickens, does tremendous work on the vertical plane, right? And he's explosive and he makes those circus catches, and that meshes well with Wilson if they're going to stick with him. I think it opens the door for kind of anybody. Right? I think it opens the door for Luther Burden here, who I think, insanely good movement skills at the position for wide receiver. Can be the Z, can be the slot. Yak threat. I think he's a better route runner than he's given credit for. And maybe a little bit of down year last year, but you saw the production as a sophomore. I think he pairs really nicely there. Adam, I think Ibuka pairs really nicely there of like runs great routes all over the field, can be the chain mover, has some ability to win down the field at times when he can do that. Like, does all of the little things right at receiver, catches the ball well, blocks. Like, he kind of is a really good foil to what Pickens is doing as well. And I think Golden is the same way. I think he can run every route on the route tree. Great hands, underrated yak guy. But like, he is a guy who gets open at will. Like, I would love that for Pittsburgh. Golden works really nicely. I think there's a couple others. I think Royals works really nicely for them too. Yak guy, solid route running guy. Trey Harris, if they want to be just down the field merchants the entire time, right, with that speed. I do think Ricky White would also pair nicely if you want to be down the field, but also good route runner, chain mover to me. And then Jalen Knowles, another one that works really nicely. Makes some tremendous catches, but he has enough speed. Like, I think there's a lot of great, like, Adam, there's so many good complementary pieces in this draft. I think Golden might have the goods to be a 1, truly. So I think Pittsburgh's going to have a lot of options to complement Pickens as long as Pickens, gets his play up to the level that I think a lot of us believe he can at this point. So, yeah, I think they're going to have a lot of options, which is, I think, exciting for you guys. Well, I appreciate that. And you like Golden as well, Adam. Yeah, it's hard not to like Golden, Yeah, Derek and I definitely need to do some. I'm going to hit him up. I've been chatting with him about a potential jaw trade over there with Pittsburgh a little while back and other stuff about YouTube. So, yeah, we'll definitely need to collab, hopefully more than once during draft season. That's an absolute guarantee that I will try to get that done. Yeah, okay. Adam Huddle says they need to worry less about blocking and run the ball, more worry about getting speed and pure talent on the field. Yeah, it would be nice. Again, explosiveness is going to be really interesting because there are those types in this draft that they could go after, right? Green Bay, especially. So, yeah, I think explosiveness, if they're not going to be able to chase like a true one, which is unfortunate, I think they got to chase explosiveness. That should be the next priority for sure. Packer fan 1418 says concussions for Dobbs worries me. Yeah, Watson's out until midseason. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if Watson's out till like Thanksgiving. To be honest, if they keep it even more conservative, maybe even mid-December. So finding some more explosiveness is probably going to be, at least next on the list, if not tops on the list, over a wide receiver one this offseason. What's going on, Dana? How you doing? There we go. Connection unstable. Nice. Okay. Hopefully it's not going forward. We'll see. Okay. Tonezilla says, hey, Jake, just want to say channel super overlooked. Always have a ton of legitimate great information. Appreciate that, Tonezilla. Thank you so much for those lovely comments. Adam says a Dunze is if you built a Packers receiver in a lab. There's no doubt about that. It's very true. It's very, very true. And then Lee says off topic, but man, there's some decent mid-round tight ends. Want to do that? We can talk some tight ends. Hold on. Some decent mid-round tight ends I'd like in Green Bay. Don't see it happening though. Yeah, I try to push the agenda here for like Loveland in the first round for Green Bay if he's available. Just because, again, like you want to push Musgrave a little bit. I know they've got a lot invested in Musgrave. But, like, man, Loveland and Kraft would be sick. Truly. Would love to see that. But, yeah, there are a lot of options. Gunnar Helms, very interesting. He's been a part of a lot of explosive plays for Texas this past season. So, he'd be intriguing for me. Obviously, Arroyo's got that receiving build as well. More impressive. Had more crisp routes than I expected from him down in Mobile. And then, yeah, Mason Taylor's obviously a guy who can do both. And then, of course, there's our buddy Harold Fannin, who, has gadget receiving tight end written all over him at 20 and a half years old, which is nuts. And off a 1,500-yard season, by the way. Terrence Ferguson is a pretty smooth mover at tight end, too, which I'm sure Lee, as well. Yeah, there's some definite guys that Rondé Gadsden is like kind of a unique player at 6'5", like 230, maybe even 220. So like there are some, very intriguing names at tight end in this draft. Like this draft is good at like defensive line. I think corner's still a pretty good class. Safety's got a good top of the class. And then you go running back, tight end. Like those are like the two on offense where you go, yeah, those two classes in this draft look really, really good. I know Jordan Reed from ESPN tweeted a few days ago, like, man, I got 33 draftable grades at running back. Like, even if you don't need one, go get one, which I think is a really good idea as well for Green Bay, which I'm sure we'll kind of discuss when we do our little mock draft here at the end. But yeah, like if Green Bay is interested in the I love calling them 11.5 personnel tight ends, where it's like good receivers who can do a lot of different things for you, like to play off of Kraft. Like, why not? Why not? Chris N, what's going on, bud? What's the word? Little impromptu stream tonight, Chris. Since I saw the PTA guys weren't going live, figured got to get some Packers content in for the evening. So, Adam Huddle says thoughts on current Packer Cornelius Johnson. Did you like him as a prospect? Seemed like he has some Watson traits. Yeah, there's some definite like deep ball traits. I remember, there's some pretty good acceleration there. He had some, he can run away from you on the deep crossers. He can run away down the field, and the slant routes were pretty good. Don't think the route tree is very full, but as we were talking about previously, explosiveness is kind of what we're looking for right now if we can't find the number one. So, like, that's something worth, I think, talking about. Yeah. So he'll be interesting, is somebody if they keep around, right, and maybe challenges some guys in camp. We'll see. But, yeah, he has a little bit of that untapped explosiveness. So, too old for this. What's going on? Says I'm late. We trade for Travis Hunter. Might as well. Takes care of two big needs. It takes care of two of them. That's for sure. Yeah, that I just had the board up. We were talking receivers, a little bit of tight ends as well. Since Lee was brought that up about the, kind of there's a lot of intriguing options at that position. It's a draft again at receive, as I was mentioning earlier, right? Running back, tight end, D line, corner, and safety at the top. That's kind of where this class's strength lies right now. But a lot of avenues you could explore, and there's a lot of directions you can go in mock drafts, which I find very, very fun. I feel like last year felt a little more, this is the focus type of thing, but this time you can kind of go any direction, and in a situation where it should be best player available, kind of like that's a fun thing. Adam Huddle says Will Johnson feels right now like he could slide like Gonzalez. Seems to be unappreciated. He's my dream at 23 or in a trade up. Yeah, he'd be nice. Let's try it. Let's take a look at corners, huh? Because he's consensus like top 5, top 10 player for most. But from what I've heard, here's your big riser throughout the process. Like obviously had a really good year. Right, moved to outside corner more, right? You got, here we go. Yeah, 679 at corner this past year, and it was over 380, which dominated what he was doing snap-wise in the slot the previous 2 seasons. So, yeah, that switch to corner was a big deal for a lot of people, and he played at a high level. I have a feeling, just my early bold draft call here is Barron goes before Will Johnson. I think Barron could be picked before Will Johnson, which I don't like that. It's not to me. It's not necessarily like Forbes going before Christian Gonzalez. It's not that egregious, but I'm just kind of surprised. So yeah, I got that weird feeling that that's going to happen. Will Johnson's going to slip, and that's going to be a fun conversation to have potentially. So, Packers Kingdom's in the building, says Packers back on with T. Higgins in terms of free agency stuff. Yeah. I just feel like if you're going to pay that much money, like go pay it to Garrett, That's my thought. I just don't think I'm that enthralled with T. Higgins. Like the highs are high, tremendous possession guy, can win down the field sometimes, has the immense catch radius player, has improved again as a route runner over his years, but I'm just not in at that price. You got to be, I don't know. I feel like you have to be elite at least 2 or maybe 3 phases, right, to do that. I just don't think he is, to be honest. So like, yeah, I'm not gonna be in on that. Lee says he's out on Higgins. Adam says Barron's getting a lot of helium. Barron to Arizona. Yeah, I think it was DJ maybe who had Barron to Indianapolis, I think, at 14, which I wouldn't put that past them at all, unless the Tyler Warren stuff is, that like dialed in, like we're that dialed on it. But, Goop 2 versus Goop probably sees T. Higgins immediately says no, hasn't produced enough to deserve the contract he will get. Yeah, like I think you gotta find out. Like this is a good way to do this for me anyway. Is how go down the line of like T. Higgins versus this player. Who would you rather have? How far down do you get? And once you find that spot, go, okay, am I paying X ranked wide receiver 28 to 30 million? I don't think you are. Like if you go down the list, like right now, Chase, obviously no. Jefferson, no. The two LSU rookies. Well, might as well just keep going with LSU. Neighbors or Thomas? No, would rather have either of them than Higgins. Lamb? No, would rather have Lamb. Who else? Puka would rather have Puka. Collins would rather have Collins. Right, like you can keep doing this, right? Garrett Wilson versus T. Higgins, I think, is an interesting. AJ Brown would much rather have AJ Brown than T. Higgins. Who else am I not thinking of? Amon-Ra St. Brown's a weird discussion because he's been mostly a slot receiver. Drake London or T. Higgins? Maybe that's an interesting one to ask. Who would you rather have? Also, I'd rather have Ladd than T. Higgins as well. But like there, I'm trying to think anybody else. Again, JSN or T. Higgins is a weird one to me, but JSN was really good this past year. Trying to think if I'm missing anybody. Going down the line. I think I'd rather have Higgins than Sutton, but I don't think it's that far off. Trying to think what else. Yeah, see, Adam Huddle says definitely London. Yeah, London finally showed you. Like, give me a guy who throws more on-target passes, and I'm going to be golden. I think he was great this past year. So, I'm sure I'm missing other players. Oh, McLaurin or Higgins. Who would you rather have? I think that's an interesting conversation as well. So, I think there are a lot of those, right? Oh, yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. or T. Higgins. That's interesting. I may lean, I don't know. Pittman played with Richardson, and I love Richardson, but he was off target so much. That's an interesting one as well with Pittman. You know, like there are more guys like Devontae or T. Higgins. Who would you rather have? I think most people would say, obviously, Packer fans are going to be a little more biased, but I think you probably lean Devontae. And I don't fault you for that at all. I really don't. So, like, there are, I think most people would probably have Higgins over Judy, someone like that, but Judy had a really nice year. You never know. And it wasn't like a contract year for him. He still, I think, got 2 more years in Cleveland. So, yeah, I just feel like you keep going down the list, and you're like, I found the grouping where Higgins is. Should I be giving him 20 to 30 million? I don't think so, personally. Adam says T. Higgins feels like the peak version of Wicks. Wicks can get there, man. He just got to catch the ball. If Wicks can just catch the darn ball, we're going to be in great shape. So, over this says I'd take Higgins over Pickens, and that's about it. Yeah, Higgins-Pickens is an interesting one. Higgins-Zay Flowers is, I think, another interesting one you could throw out there. Higgins or Metcalf, obviously, is something. Who would you rather have? That's probably a more interesting one, honestly, than most. I think the interesting ones felt like London, for those who aren't all the way in on London, Pickens, Sutton, Metcalf, Pittman. Yep, I might have said that already. But, like, those are the ones where you're kind of like, all right, in this grouping, who would I rather have? And I think that gives you a kind of like a good indicator. So, getting Tay in the room for Wicks would be vital. Yeah. Again, I think most Packer fans are on board with taking Devontae over T. Higgins at this point. Because Devontae still got it right now. Oh, yeah. There's another one. Yeah, because he got hurt. There you go, Adam. There's another one. Ayuk. Even off the ACL, I'd rather have Ayuk. Ayuk has shown me way more. That 2023 season was elite season. Yes, would much rather have Ayuk. I think I'd rather have T than Debo at this point. But, like, Debo's, I think, fallen quite far down the list. Thielen's a funny one. That's a funny. Oh, Evans. Who would you rather have, T. Higgins or Mike Evans? There's another one. Would you rather have T. Higgins or Chris Olave? So, you know, there's a lot more guys. So there was a few more right there. Lee says Higgins benefits a ton from Chase. Curious how he does anywhere else, staying in since he is smart. Yeah, it would be. I think we all know that if Cincinnati's going to pay some people, they're probably just going to pay, you know, Chase and Burrow and call it Burrow and Chase. Obviously, they pay Burrow. They got to do Chase now and probably call it a day. Yeah, Godwin or Higgins. 2 wide receiver 2s on their teams this past year. Who would you rather have? Like, there are a lot of guys. Evans is that dude. So, and yeah, the injuries, right? Adam, you brought up Ayuk. Like, the injuries are probably Rashee Rice or T. Higgins. Rashee Rice has some other problems, right? Oh, gosh sakes. DJ Moore or T. Higgins. I think DJ Moore offers you a little bit more, especially if you're in a creative offense. Gosh, forgot about DJ Moore. Darn. Marvin Harrison Jr. or T. Higgins. I don't know. It's where these rookies start coming in. The Mendoza line is. I would love to find that's my goal this offseason, Adam. I'm finding the wide receiver Mendoza line. That's a really good idea. I feel like I know who it is. Like if you're talking wide receiver ones, of like this is the Mendoza line, and like if you're below that, if you're the Mendoza line, you probably should be upgrading your receiver one, and especially if you're below it. If you're above me, you're okay. That's an interesting deal. Jordan Addison's another one. Higgins would have been wide receiver 3 on the Bucs. So we went down this T. Higgins discussion, but like that's the deal, right? Like that's, are you paying that much? Not feeling it. Yeah, so I don't think I had too much else other than like I'll give you guys my pitch here if you guys weren't on Derailed really quickly let me pull up the tweet here. I'm sure you guys have all probably seen this one, but I want to here we go. Okay. This is the one I want to talk about really quick. Addison overhyped but perfect for his role in team. I remember when I did the film breakdown of Addison, I was like, I think this can be a very high-end wide receiver too. I think that's what you're getting. And that's why I left him out of the first round in my grading. And I'm like, this is a solid second round type player. And I think he's in a nice spot. He's in a really nice spot where Jefferson can do everything. He can win as a route runner. There's no question, but he can also be that kind of, take the top off of a defense player down the field, and he's gotten way better at the catch point, which is good for him. But like he is in a perfect wide receiver 2 role. And there's just some guys who are that, and that's okay. Oh, Devontae Smith or T. Higgins. I'd want Devontae Smith. Probably others would want T. Higgins. That's fine. I'm a Devontae Smith truther. That I will admit that, but that's what I mean. Like there are a lot of players. So finding the one isn't necessarily an easy thing, but I think there are a lot of things at receiver that as a prospect that can show you that they can be the one. So here's my pitch quick as we make this transition to Myles Garrett, and then we'll get into the mock draft and we'll do some fun stuff there. Waddle and Tyreek Hill are 2 other ones. Who would you rather have them or like if Waddle can stay healthy, I'd rather have Waddle for sure. That's another great one. People are saying Minnesota's the best 1-2 or overhyping him. He's good. But like you said, great for that system. Yeah, I'd rather have Brown and Smith than Jefferson and Addison personally. These 2 are smaller, but like they had such a great skill set to combat all of the potential deficiencies for their size. Like Waddle had pretty darn good ball skills to go elevate, and he obviously had the elite speed, but he obviously had elite gear down ability as well. Smith, great hand usage, swipes in the stem, swipe versus press, phenomenal release player, phenomenal route runner, everything to combat the size problem he had as well. Like those 2 were like, to me, easy round 1 selections because of like, yes, size was a problem to some, but like they clearly had a skill set or some skill set to combat that perfectly. And like, that's the deal. My Myles Garrett pitch really quick. So obviously, again, this is just one GM that Rossini's talking about, right? It's not multiple. Obviously, it's going to include a 1, right? Like there's no version of this where Cleveland doesn't get a 1 back in some capacity. A 1 and a 2, 1 and 2 threes, throw a player in there. That's interesting, right? So not necessarily. They're not, again, this could be wrong. It could end up being 2 1s, but they're not necessarily saying it's 2 1s. They're saying it's a 1 and some extra stuff in there, player 2, 2 threes, whatever. My pitch for Garrett is this. If you can go out to me, like this is the thing I think he is in a different tier than your Khalil Mack at 34, than your Max Crosby to me. Him, Parsons, maybe Bosa. Trying to think of others. If I don't, please in the comments tell me who I'm missing. But like there's a clear top tiered edge rusher that are getting 18, 19, 20% pressure rate, pass rush win rate, like all that stuff, who are in that like way above like other people. And then some other guy who joins them for 1 year as a one-off and then bows out, right? Like that. And this is the one, right? Dana makes a good point. Hendrickson did it this year. Now, Hendrickson has been, I think, teetering on tier 2 at the very least for a while, jumps into tier 1, but maybe next year he jumps out of tier 1 and he's back into tier 2. So, like, you'll have those guys who have the big year jump into it. Then they'll jump back out afterwards. Like Grenard and Danielle Hunter had great seasons this year. They might jump back out of it next year. Maybe Will Anderson takes another leap and jumps into it next year. But like Grenard was really good. And like so my thing for Garrett is he's consistently been it, right, as an edge rusher. He's also, obviously, this is no brag. Most people had him this. He's still the highest graded player I have ever evaluated. He's still number 1 on the list of like, yeah, this is like a clear number 1 overall pick. No questions asked. Like you do this every time. So yeah, I mean, he is just body type, kind of a versatile skill set because he's got so much speed and so much explosiveness, but also the power and also the pass rush ability, the repertoire, all of it, where it's like, yeah, he probably could play a 3-4 if he wanted to. He's obviously more suited for the 4-3, but like if you go get a player, and this is what you mean, best edge in football, future Hall of Famer. Like you if you have that opportunity, you go do it. Especially if you say your window, you feel the urgency a little bit, blah, blah, blah. You go get him. He has 2 years left. You extend him for 4 more, and you're paying him till he's 34. If you're thinking about signing Khalil Mack at 34 years old, right, and he's played some very good football consistently into his 30s, which is great. But if you're considering the Mack thing, you should consider Garrett. It's not even a question because you can have him that long, right? And so this is the type of player that elevates a franchise. And it's crazy that Cleveland's going to let him go. Now Denzel Ward's talking about, if you're letting Garrett go, you better let me go. So there could be a massive teardown if this happens. This is a massive domino for the franchise. But if you have this opportunity, not this doesn't come around very often, right? To go get a guy like this. Usually you have to draft a guy like this to have that guy for a long time. So if you have that opportunity, I think you go do it. Goody's track record in the first has not been great. He has done some big swinging in the first. It hasn't gone well in recent memory. Alexander, Love, Gary, kinda. I think you could put in that tier, but like otherwise it hasn't been great. You want to swing with a couple firsts? You swing with a couple firsts. Or you swing with a 1 and 2. You trade back from the 1 you still have, whichever year it is, and you accumulate more because you're darn good at finding good players from rounds 2 to 5 pretty consistently, at least in recent years. He's done a great job at that. You go make this move if you can make this move, or you at least try to make the move. If there's a price you get to and you don't want to go there, okay, whatever. But like you at least make the effort, and I think they will. Do I think they land him? I don't know. Seems unlikely. There'll probably be other suitors, right? But I do think this is something that they must consider. You want to be over the top. This is a massive boost to a pass rush that was pretty anemic. The Jalen Hurts touchdown was such an indictment, right, against Green Bay, the first one, where it's just like, yeah, they're overwhelmed out there. Like, they got some nice pieces, but, like, they're overwhelmed. And if you can do it, man, immediate elevator, and I think it still gives you an opportunity in the draft to bolster it in other spots, still bolster corner, offensive line, receive, however you want to take it. If you're giving up a 1 in this draft and you still have the rest of it, I think you can still maneuver around and put together a pretty solid draft. But he would be such a tipping point for that defense. Imagine in 2 off seasons acquiring McKinney, Jacobs, and Garrett. Would be insane. So I would love for it to happen. That's my pitch. I think it's an easy pitch to make, right? As Adam Huddle puts here, future Hall of Famer, like he is. That's what he is. He gets a chance to go potentially win 1 or 2, So there will be other teams talking about this. Philly will probably be in that conversation. They're set to lose Milton Williams and Josh Sweat this offseason. Like Detroit will be in that convo. Washington will definitely be in that convo. The Chargers, heck, might be in the convo as well. Like there'll be plenty of teams in it if it actually happens. So it's tough, but you go get a player like that, you do. Okay, Airs Joy, what's going on? Says join the chat. So we don't get Adams or Wilson. We should get a cornerback 1 free agent. Someone like Murphy Jr. was a cornerback leading in picks. Yeah, I mean Murphy had a great year for Minnesota. I imagine Minnesota's not going to let him leave based on how he played, and they really don't have anybody else. Maybe they do. But I do think Green Bay's free agent market at corner is interesting. Maybe we should bring that up. Let's see if we can bring up the 2025 free agent list. I got one from PFF. I don't know how many it does. Oh, PFF's got a cornerback list. Here we go. Yeah, DJ Reed, obviously near the top. Charvarius Ward. Douglas would be fun. Carlton Davis, yeah. It's not a bad option. Asante Samuel Jr., a lot of people might like that. Byron Murphy. Mike Hilton is a slot guy. Gilmore's getting a little up there. Jonathan Jones. Nate Hobbs has been predominantly a slot guy. Paulson Adebo's interesting. Paulson Adebo's really interesting. 63 in single coverage, but at the same time, like Green Bay's probably, again, the man coverage is you're not going to get a ton of that, right? So, but again, he did get hurt, right? So that's one thing. Oh yeah, broken femur. Shoot, that's horrendous. Oh, I feel so bad. That's awful. But yeah, like they're going to be guys. I think Reed and Reed, Douglas, and Samuel are probably those guys that are like, okay, Samuel, change of scenery as a young player still, like that could work. Douglas, familiarity with the organization at least. It'll be a little bit of a different system, but again, he's always done a nice job. And then obviously Reed, who maybe I think he was a little bit down this past year, but I think everything kind of fell apart. I think everybody was kind of down, and they need somebody kind of lift him back up. But corner will be the free agent market will have some guys who you can look at and go, yeah, that can be a at the very least a quality too, which I think is a big deal. So I'll come back to this one, Airs Joy, because I'm sure we'll be talking about it. I just doubt the Garrett pick will happen. It'll be the first the Pack signs the top 10 player in the league basically in a long time. Yeah, probably since probably since Reggie White. So, too old for this. Are there any guys in this draft that can get to that level in terms of Garrett? All right, let's switch gears really quickly. I think there are, maybe, but I don't know if Green Bay is going to be in position to get them. You have your Abdul Carter here, who obviously is phenomenal. They moved him from off ball to edge, and he was dominant. His worst game was the opening game against West Virginia, and then he just went on a tear. He could probably get somewhere near that level. He's obviously going to be long gone before Green Bay picks. Pierce is obviously the grades are tremendous, but like I don't think Green Bay is going to be necessarily in on Pierce. He's a little bit smaller than they like. Mike Green's probably the other one that can reach it. He's really good. He's really, really good. But he also probably played himself out of there. So like those are the two, Green and Carter are probably the two that like I look at and go, yeah, they can be that. There are certainly other guys with talent to reach very good player. Both Texas A&M guys I think can reach it. Shamar Stewart's got some work to do as a pass rusher. Scourton, he's been pretty darn good at Purdue and Texas A&M. Like he could reach a tier of like good to very good. I think both Ohio State guys intrigue me in terms of Tui Moloau and Jack Sawyer. I do think Ezaraku can be a pretty darn good player at the next level. Like I think he has that ability as well. I don't know if anybody's going to reach Garrett other than Green and Carter, but there are guys who can get into that second and third tier in this class. It's just a little bit more projection involved, I think. So, all right, Lee says LVN Willis this year's third 2026 first for Garrett. I mean, Cleveland getting Willis could be fun for it's a QB option. LVN, I mean, who wouldn't take that for Green Bay, right? Adam Huddle says get the Mavs GM over to Cleveland. Let's get this trade going. Yeah, he would start trading. That's for sure. Oh yeah, Verse could probably reach it. Yeah, 17.1% as a rookie. Is that pressure percentage or is that win rate? I think that's pressure percentage. It's one of the two, and I keep forgetting which one it is. But 17.1% is really good as a rookie. And he didn't even have that much sack production, but I don't care about the sack production. Everything is, all the numbers were telling you that the sacks were going to be there eventually. And I think it's set up for him to have a really big year next year. So if you have IDP leagues and such, I would do what you can to get Verse on your team. Should have been a Cardinal. Trade down Bowers, Verse, and Brian Thomas Jr. That's my final mock. Garrett has 4 to 5 years left, at least 3 of those in top tier, all 31. Yeah, they should all be trying to go get him. So Adam's on the no, don't think Cleveland ends up moving him. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland still has all the leverage there. So Adam Huddle says, feels like good taking best defender at 23 and then either wide receiver or center round 2. Evan just used that one for the best defender in the NFL. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think Goody swings in the first round to try to find this guy, which, again, don't fault the process, but at some point it would be nice to land somebody that you feel like is yes, this is a quality player coming in right away. It's not a guy who's a year away from being a year away and a lot of projection involved. It'd be nice to just get that guy. Shamar Stewart feels like the year away from a year away guy that they would go get at edge. He 100% does. So would you rather have Garrett and then Stewart and a 1? I feel like I'd rather have Garrett, right? So that's the deal. Yeah, it's tough. Air Joy says, I'd like to keep the one we have this year. There's absolute game records that we could viably get at DT. Looking at Nolan, Norman Lott. Excuse me. I actually like Shamar Stewart, who isn't as raw as I thought initially. Again, he's a really powerful player, explosive, disruptive, tremendous run defender early, right? I don't think we kind of said that. I don't even think we kind of said that about Gary or Van Ness as dominant run defender. But you knew them as big, fast, and could do a lot of collisions, right? So that was what those two were about. And Gary was a little more flexible, certainly, than Van Ness was. But yeah, Stewart's, I mean, he is a phenomenal run defender right now. Isn't quite the pass rush guy. He does a lot of the speed to power where he tries to run through you, which, again, you can do that. If you have a devastating speed to power because you know how to set it up, you're in perfect shape. And then you build off of that. I think Stewart doesn't win those as much as I would like him to, as big, as strong as he is. But again, he showed you he can move different. So he is somebody I would still, I'm not going to be uber high on him, I don't think, when it comes to my rankings. But again, he's young. He's 21. And there's flexibility, power, athleticism, all that there. Where like in the 20s, I think is the perfect time to take the shot. To me, I have that strange feeling that the way he's going to test, he's probably going to be a top 12 selection, which that's where I would like the Mike Greens or Carters instead. So yeah, that's my concern. I think he's going to go earlier than this. They have him ranked 20th. I know DJ and a couple others had him to Green Bay. I feel like he might play out of that spot, honestly. So, but yeah, there are game wreckers. Walter Nolan's a game wrecker. I really like Walter Nolan at defensive tackle, especially if you're looking for the 3 tech, right? If you're not looking for the 1 tech to help you out on early downs and maybe offer something as a pass rusher, if you're not looking at that early, which I don't love looking at that early too much, Nolan would be high on my list for sure. I thought he was going to potentially play himself out of Green Bay's area this past week in Mobile. It wasn't the best week for him in Mobile. He showed he can move different. He didn't have the greatest week. He didn't have a bad week. I think it was fine. I think it was a fine week. And again, we had a lot of expectations, so fine relative to expectations is probably better than other guys who, maybe slightly surpassed some lower ones. But yeah, I think Nolan still might be in play in the first at this point. They say Pierce is a little stiff-hipped, says Ayers Joy, and I could see it, although he's got good get-off. Yeah, Pierce just feels like – I think if Green Bay is going to tweak their process at edge at all, I still think they're going to be 250-plus in terms of who they're looking at. I feel like Pierce is going to be around the 240 mark, maybe 245, like Will Anderson was, like Dallas Turner, kind of those guys, where it just feels like they probably want more out of the player, right? Again, he had a dominant run defense grade, though. At the same time, I just feel like this is the 3-4 fit. And I don't quite see the 243 being the biggest fan. Now, Green cleared 250. So there is that. And then you obviously have these massive dudes, 6'5". This is 281, I think, for Stewart. Sawyer will be around this number, I'm sure. Scourton is probably around this number, 285. Now, if Ezaraku could get to 250, I think that's somebody Green Bay could look at. Obviously, the Boston College connection's already there, right? He's younger. Another guy who was a pretty good run defender, like, according to PFF anyway. Like, that there are going to be options, right, as disruptive players. Stewart plays looser than Pierce, says Arizona. I think we got enough stiff-hipped edges. Yeah, that's for sure. That was pressure rate, Dana. Okay, yeah. It's pressure rate. Yes, okay. Because, yeah, Garrett and Parsons and a lot of those guys hover, the elite hover at like 19 to 20, maybe 18 to 19 to 20. Verse being there early is insane. Hey, fam, what's up? Weekly Gouda to see ya. Nice. That's clever. I like that. We should call it Weekly Gouda. Might be better. I don't know. Name change alert? We'll see. Here's Joy says, no Jacob Monk love. I think, he might get the opportunity at center. Mike Wall loves Jacob Monk, thinks he's got a bright future. Who am I to argue against a guy who I feel like when I listen to him, I'm learning stuff all the time. So a guy who can get better and better. Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, he's a good player in the run game, and pass protection needs some work, but like at the same time, I feel like that's something that at center you can hide better than other spots. So Monk is still somebody you got to be, with your eyes on for sure heading into year 2. Stewart's only 21. Yep. Fred McFarley says Walker, Morgan, Jenkins, Ryan, Tom. Yeah, that's possible. It also could be Walker, Jenkins, insert Gray Zabel, Jordan Morgan, and Ryan, and then Tom, right? Jordan Morgan and Ryan kind of fighting for that right guard spot. Or maybe it's Monk's. Maybe it is his. I don't know. But, like, I do think adding one more to that room would be beneficial to Green Bay in some capacity. It doesn't have to be early, right? It doesn't have to be Gray's able if they don't want to be. But I do think they could add to it. So it's 110. We're at the hour 10 mark. Let's start moving to the mock draft a little bit. Is there something? Keep me honest here. Is there something that we didn't touch on earlier that I kind of said we would? We didn't really go through a lot of the receivers from Green Bay's perspective. We kind of talked about for Pittsburgh, but if we want to do that, we can. Otherwise, we can get to the mock draft. I know Ayers Joy put this in if we don't get Adams or Wilson. He talked about those corners in free agency. I know we kind of brought some of them up, which was good quickly. Again, Reed and Ward and some of these guys I think Green Bay should be in on and be checking that price. I think Samuel's going to be the guy who gets the biggest discount relative to the others. So, like, you know, should they add a free agent? Yeah. I love that they do free agent comps. I don't like that comp for DJ Reed. Malcolm Butler kind of disappeared after he got the money. I don't remember how Rogers Cromartie did after 2014, but didn't he go to the Giants? I think he did. Rasul Douglas is Bradbury in free agency. I mean, Bradbury did well for a couple seasons in Philly, so that could work. Carlton Davis is like Aaron Colvin. Samuels is like DJ Reed in 22. Yeah, if you can get this second contract DJ Reed for Samuel, I think I'm in. Yeah, okay. Let's I'll get through these. I'll get through the rest of the comments quick, and I'm going to start opening this up so we can do this really quickly. I'm going to get the mock draft started for you guys, but let's get through the rest of these comments real quick. Eric Joy says him being Shamar Stewart says I've seen him dip and bend better than most bigger edges. Think he needs to control momentum better, but he's better than Gary in his skill set coming out. Maybe not as powerful, but yeah. I don't think he's. I think it's a good way to put it for Stewart. Yeah, I like the flexibility that he actually has for as big as he is. So yeah, he's not as stiff as LVN. I think he's a little. Yeah, he might be a little more flexible than Gary too. Like there is stuff there in terms of disruption. It feels classic Packers. It really does. Fred McFarley saying Monk, Jennings, Glover, Telford, bench. Again, yeah, I think you can add to that for sure. Airsjoy says Jenkins had a couple bad snaps and replaced Myers. I don't know if he's a great fit at center. Feels like Jenkins is going to stick where he's at left guard, and you try something. Maybe Jordan Morgan becomes a center. I don't know. It's not impossible, I guess. I don't think he's ever snapped the ball, but yeah, I think it's Monks or a draft pick to lose. Honestly, we can't move Zach Tom in there. Been too good at right tackle. There's no need to try and replace a right tackle and try a rookie there than try to do the other than just like go try to fill center. Would rather try to fill center than right tackle. Monk had some nice film from Duke in preseason. He's got underrated power for his side. Yeah, I mean, the movement skills are tremendous. It's just working on more of the fundamentals and technique as a pass protector, I think. Dana says PFF has. Ooh, yeah, we'll do that quick. He must be listed at linebacker because I thought he was relatively high. Oh, maybe he isn't. No, because PFF has him lower. Let's find out what he is really quick. Oh, I don't have my screen. Right. Here, hold on. Yeah, let's go find him really fast because I know he's going to be a hot topic of conversation. Okay, PFF has him PFF has him here listed at linebacker, which I think is fair considering. I mean, he's not going to be super tall. He's going to be I guess he's not. If he's the size of Pierce and those guys, like I guess I don't mind it. I'm wondering what they have him listed in the simulator though, which we're gonna do now. Airjoy says Stewart just leans a bit much at times, late hands, but good at sticking to do. Oh no, this is Monk. Sorry. Okay, Airjoy. Sorry. Yeah, he, meaning Monk, leans a bit much at times, late hands, but he's good at sticking to dudes. Yeah, I think the late hands, and he does kind of get way out, and he does kind of lean at the waist a decent bit, but like there's definitely stuff to work with for sure. Fred McFarley says LVN's pressure rate was 11 to 12%. Yeah, it's okay. Definitely want to see that jump though, for 13th overall pick in year 3. Dana says Landon Jackson feels like a Pittsburgh Steelers 5-9 every year sack guy. Yeah, he was a little bit stiffer and not as, athletic, springy as I was expecting down in Mobile. I'm kind of but yeah. Yeah, he feels like there's probably somebody who can use that size and strength to get the most out of him. But maybe the 3-4 is where he needs to be. He's big. Adam Huddle says round 4 O-line hotspot. Let's talk receivers when we get to the mock. What's up, Drew D? Says I'm live. Yeah. Well, because PTA didn't have anything, and I figured, might as well give the Packers fans and some draft enthusiasts something tonight in terms of content. So figured we'd just get on and get rolling here. So we're going to do the Packers mock now. And we're not going to trade anybody. We're just going to roll through it a little bit. Feel free to to throw your input in there. Let's do 7. I feel like we shouldn't trade. We're not going to go get Garrett or anything like that. We're just probably going to stick and pick. Unless we can move back and acquire stuff from like 23 to 30 or 55 to, wherever in the 60s or something like that. But it'll be small trade backs if it's trading. So let's start this. We're not going to move up for anybody. And we'll roll here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I know what I'm doing here. So here's the deal. All right, let's look at kind of what happens. Yeah, Landon Jackson is bigger. Yeah, what was he at the Senior Bowl? Gosh, what did he end up being? Now you got me curious as we're starting this mock. Landon Jackson was 6'5.5", 273. 6'5.5", 273, 33 5/8. Yeah, because Stewart was at least 281. Yeah, 6'5" and an eighth, 281. Stewart's got more weight and has longer arms, but Jackson is taller. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Okay. Let's roll here. Okay. Yeah, Walter Nolan. Hopefully another year in the league. Covington can get to that 15%. Covington can get to that 15? You typing and driving, Fred McFarley? But yeah, it's going to be hard for me not to pick Nolan here. Now, Golden, you already know if you took a peek at my film room Substack on Matthew Golden, I like him. Zabel could probably fill Green Bay's needs at center, but I don't think they need to do it here. A lot of talk about Demetrius Knight Jr. recently. He's all the way up at 32 on this now. And just to see, because he had to have been picked already. Maybe he wasn't. Has he not been picked? Has he actually not been picked? Yeah, he hasn't. Whoa, 52nd for Jalen Walker. He's going higher than that. That's the one thing the simulator doesn't have. That's a whiff. Anyway, so there's a lot of interesting guys. Some corners we could. Savon Ravel. Yeah. Piques my interest, but I think we're going to go Nolan here. There's so much to like from Nolan, and I'm not going to pass up all the potential trade options to not pick him here. I think Green Bay still needs to get better at 3 tech. We're going to take Nolan. And I feel good about it. I feel good about Nolan here. If we can move back a few spots, 13's not that much. We're not doing that. Sure. Jalen Walker. Oh, Covington can get LVN to 15%. I gotcha, Fred. Okay. We're on the same page now. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Yes. Get LVN to 15. Not impossible. Obviously, he had a lot of duties last year. Covington did as the DC, I believe. So, yeah, he gets to focus. I like these DCs that come back to do some position coaching because I feel like back to roots a little bit. It feels like a really good spot for them to be at. So, young SEC or 5-star sounds like a Packer. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited about Covington. Maybe you might get the best out of Wyatt and Brooks as well, which would be really exciting. Okay. Is there any direction we want to go in the second round here? See, like if I don't, so that's my other thing. If I don't get Nolan, Darius Alexander is somebody I absolutely want for Green Bay. Move around your D line, play some defensive end sometimes, play defensive tackle, of course. But he's got plenty of juice. Maybe we do move back, huh? Unless we like Darian Porter here as a coverage player who has a lot of special teams experience, a little up and down, lots of speed. But I do like, there are other corners I like a little bit better. Like, I like Azarie. I like the Kansas guys. I really like Parrish. I like Riley. I don't mind Dorian Strong either. I like Hairston, but I don't. Green Bay at 179 feels unlikely. I don't think Donovan Jackson's going to play center. Obviously, reaching for Mbao here would be something I would do. I know he hasn't played center. But I really, really like what he has in terms of the movement skills. I would be so in on that. Oh man, it's not the best. There's a lot of, gosh, I would do this I would no problem doubling up. Wyatt Millam's interesting because, yeah, I mean, he's played tackle and they tried him more in the interior. Could be kind of that butt kicking type. I don't know. There's a lot of guys. Let's see if it's trade back. What do you think? What do you think about this? Yeah, this is the deal. The Alexander's nuts playing 9-tech, like insane club moves for some dudes, like playing defensive end essentially, and like D tackle. He was tough to block. Like, do we want to do this? Do we want to move back and get an extra pick here? 13-ish slots. I feel like we're not like, I feel like, at least for me, I'm not loving what's here. I'm going to offer this. Guys, there's a train that comes by one of these evenings. I'm going to put this on mute for like 2 seconds while this thing goes by, because you can probably already hear it, and we'll get back to this. I'm going to resume this while this is happening, and I'm going to mute myself. Okay, I think we're good. The horn might go off one more time, but I think we're good now. Okay. I don't think it was pressing who we lost at this point. I think, again, Alexander's obviously nice. Millam we kind of talked about a little bit, but again, I'm not like Jalen Walker going here is hilarious. But yeah, losing out on Jaden Higgins by a spot definitely hurts. But I do think Green Bay's in a nice spot. Now, truly, like one of the insane things, Ozzy Trapilo, I think he can move. He feels too tall to move, I think is the one thing. Would you fancy Arroyo in round 3 if he's there early? Maybe. I wouldn't mind it at all. That is the derailed sound as well. So, okay, let's buckle down here. Jonah Savanaia, Jalen Royals, of course. Got Hairston still there. We got some more picks to work with at this point. Here's my deal. I really like Mbao. I think we do this here. I know it seems early. My other pick would be taking Henderson, to be honest, because you want some explosive playmakers in your offense. Yeah, kind of. Like, I don't mind this at all. Jacobs with Henderson would be nuts, by the way. Truly nuts. It's super tempting. Okay? It's super tempting to take Travion Henderson right here. But I like where corner is for the next 3 selections. I feel really good about it. Is he a pass catching back? Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah. So get this. He's not only a pass catching back, okay? But he is a tremendous lead blocker and pass protector. He does both of those things well. And the best part is like, yes, he has been hurt. You want to limit the snaps for him? Perfect. That's totally fine. You have Jacobs who can tote the rock so much. And I get the like, yes, better backs later. His explosive play rate is nuts. And like, yeah, there's some other guys on here that are okay and stuff like that. Like, this is a dude. That he is insane. Like, truly. He's RB2 for me, and yeah, I get that. We can go running back later. So let's take this. Josiah Stewart would be the edge here. Probably not for Green Bay. He's 6 foot 248, like 6 foot 0 3/4, and 248. So he probably isn't going to be a big Green Bay guy. The guys that are going to be more Green Bay guys maybe Sorrell, the Boise State guy here. Oladejo's interesting, actually. Showed some stuff down in Mobile. That might be a guy swing on. Ja Joyner will be. Henderson, I think, is better than Lloyd. Yeah, he's better. Lloyd's a nice player with a lot of explosiveness. Henderson's got incredibly good footwork and processing skills. My boy JT on the board. I think no. I don't believe so. Gosh, sometimes the scroller on this is not good. I think Drew, if he was here, he would have stood out to me. Yeah, he's not here. He would have stood out to me if he was available because it would have made a lot of sense for them. All right. I won't twist anyone's arm any longer. We talked a lot there. Let's go get Mbao because I just really like the idea of one more offensive lineman. We can cross it off, and then we can get to a lot of the other stuff, receiver, running back, however we want to do it. Okay. So how this went, Trey Harris, Zaire Thomas, Bond, Royals, Henderson. Yeah, so, I mean, again, not a terrible place to be right now because not many corners come off the board there. We're kind of in business with a lot of these players here. So, yeah, Green Bay's a little more measurable, bigger guys. Otherwise, Stewart would be an interesting option if he was – I think if he got to the – and again, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, right? Like, if he got to the 250s and he was a little taller, I think he could be in play. But, yeah, Fred, I think Henderson's a dude. I do. He's a really perfect complement to Jacobs, and you're not sacrificing anything in terms of like the pass protection or anything, or like, oh, we have to only call run play for him because He's always going to have that ability to stay patient and accelerate with some gap runs, and he has really good footwork and processing for zone runs. Like, he has a really good, I think, extremely good complementary skill set and a really good skill set on his own. So here I think we're going to go corner, right? I don't think that's news. It's just a question of who is it. I think Kobe Bryant's going to be a favorite among many. A little smaller than Green Bay is used to, which makes me kind of want to go Mello Dotson, actually. A little bit more up and down in terms of the week-to-week play, but still a pretty good player in his own right. Truthfully, I kind of like Parrish and what he's done. I really like Parrish. Could go that route. Let me check Parrish's numbers quick. Parrish was 5'9", 196. Okay. All right, just for fun, we'll go outside the thresholds here. You want to take Kobe Bryant, guys? Ball skills, all that stuff. Good run defender. Maybe we could just pack on some poundage. Does that sound good? Let's do it. Let's do it for fun. Probably won't end up being a Green Bay guy, but let's do it. Let's take Kobe Bryant for the fun. We might be able to double up here. Can only hope. I think we might be able to. Yep, should be able to, unless we want Jalen Knoll here. The doubling up can commence at corner. Want to reload the room. Opportunity. Quincy Riley, Noel Williams, Jacob Parrish, all there. Edge. I forget how big. How big was Sorrell? 6'3", 253. I mean, not the worst idea here. That's not bad. But I kind of like Oladeo. I think he was bigger. Let me check on Oladeo really fast. Nope, that's Oben. Oladeo's 6'2", 261, 33. Yeah. Okay. So let's get the double up at corner done, I think, unless there's a receiver. Noel Bryant, Juice Wells, Ricky White, Felton, Chisholm. Yeah, I like Noel. I think it can work here. I think I want maybe a little more explosiveness, deep threat type. Torrey Horton's very intriguing in that department. So is Juice Wells, and I know the grades are pretty poor there, so that's not going to be everybody's favorite, but you know, we've got some options. I got an idea later. Let's double up at corner here, and let's go. Pat Bryant's big play guy, but remember, he's not the explosiveness player, though. So if you want the explosiveness player, we'll have to look elsewhere. But if we want the chain mover, we can always go that route. I'm going to go the route of let's go get a Noel Williams. Let's go get a Parrish. I think Noel Williams is a little bit bigger. Let's go Noel here, and we'll keep rolling. Okay. Now, Oladeo one spot. Frick. That's so frustrating. That's so frustrating. Okay. Well, edge might be a kick the can down the road type of deal. I like Brashard Smith. I really like Brashard Smith. Good pass catching back, former wide receiver. Trade above the Chargers every round. Yeah, that's possible. We could do that. Okay. Edge. Could go Powell Ryland. That's a possibility. We didn't lose out on Joyner. Paul Ryland's interesting, but I don't remember. Was he big enough? I need to go to my Shrine Bowl stuff to figure out if he was or not. Embrett Smith, 6'2", 253. Pretty short arms. No. Okay, so we're not going to take Paul Ryland. Let's... Not doing that. Aeneas Peebles will be fun here, too. Am I a Devin Neal fan? Yes, I am. He might be my RB3, funny enough. Ahead of Hampton. Ahead of Caleb Johnson. Real chance he ends up there for me. At receiver. Receiver, I have some thoughts, and I feel like, well, want to do it, folks? Let's do it. It's fun. We're having a good time. Let's take Pat Bryant. Let's do the receiver thing. So, really quick, I had some other options. Now, yeah, if the legal situation clears up, which maybe it will, Kyron Lacey becomes valuable. To me, the later guys that I like right now, Ja'Cory Brooks is one. Yes, the drop rate's bad. I understand. That's going to, that the alarm bells go off for people on that. I really like what Ja'Cory Brooks has been doing. I really like Konate Mumfield actually quite a lot for a later round guy. So those are going to be guys that I'm in on later. But I have an idea. We're going to go Bryant here. Yeah, I think that's the move. Let's go Pat Bryant for fun there. Get ourselves a receiver. Gosh, Quinn Ewers is here? I mean, that's a lot of talent. It's a lot of talent to be leaving on the board here to me. So I know linebacker's a point of concern for some. Could do that. Could take Jay Higgins, who's always here for some reason. Don't know why he's still here. Who is him, Drew? Talking about, who are we talking about? Did I say someone's name? Who did I peek? Oh, Quinn Ewers? Want to do that? Want to take Ewers here? Oh, man, so many people are going to dislike the video. But, you got to be true to yourself. So the other thing I was thinking about at receiver is we go get this guy. We go get Aronde Gadsden, who is a tight end, quote unquote, but also like a big play guy. Still might be on the board too at 199. We'll not go there. But edge, quickly. Edge, Johnny Walker Jr. could be somebody. I think, let me check his thing. 6'2", 246. Never mind. Darn it. Oh, man, there's just not that much here anymore. We might have to, maybe there's a DT we could play at edge. Who's listed over here? Nope. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Thor Griffith, insane numbers. By the way, down this far. It's crazy work. Yeah, we kind of might be out of luck at edge. So that's tough scene. Brew McCoy feels like a late round Green Bay guy. Simon at linebacker is pretty good. Kane Madrano. Do we think we need a coverage guy, though? That's the thing. We should try to improve edge through coaching. Yeah. I mean, run defense and coverage are pretty good here. Let's get... All right, let me find out who you're talking about. He might not be on here. Maybe he's gone. Who'd you say? Wait, Kane Madrano. Yeah, I don't see him on here. This will just be the draft where edge takes kind of a backseat. I think Wilson and McDuffie weren't good in coverage. Okay, well I think Higgins kind of provides both at least from a PFF perspective. So I'm going to take Higgins here. Then I'm going to take the guy that we talked about. Well, we could take Jake Majors at center. Was he at the Shrine? Whoa, Kane Madrano's 219 pounds is all? Brother. I do not see Majors on here. Yo, Madrano is 219. He weighed in at 219. That's crazy. Um. We could just we could punt, but I'm exhausting everything in my search. I'm exhausting everything. Just to see. No. 219 is only 6 pounds off the 225 pound. Pretty sure Ethan Downs is going back to school. When was this updated last? I don't know. It's definitely been updated recently because they moved Darius Alexander way up. So it must have been updated recently, but there are some names here that I agree. There shouldn't be here, so I'm not sure why that is. We could go Efton Chisholm, double receiver. But if we're going to double receiver, my thought is going here. I'm going to go here. This is a very, very intriguing skill set. What did he come in at this thing? I know he was here. I know he was here. 6'4", 247. Yep. We're taking Gadsden. Not even concerned. All right. Defense for the last pick. So we've taken DT. We've taken... Oh, I can do this. We've taken Nolan and Bow, Bryant, Williams, two Bryants, Higgins, and Gadsden. I really like this, actually. So what can we do to round this out? Good draft to take a late QB. It could be. Is Elijah Roberts SMU gone? I think he was available at like the 199 spot, and I didn't take him. In terms of Elijah Roberts, Beatty was the standout. Yeah, Beatty's. So saying we could take. I don't remember those QBs left here now. I do not like what's left here. We could have done Ewers at 160, which would have been kind of insane. Now it might just be like, who's the most explosive running back left? That's funny. Tyler Shuck gonna be their guy? Yeah, he might be. I mean, I know what we're doing. We're taking this guy. We didn't take two defensive linemen, which is not ideal in my opinion. But we could just take Thor Griffith. Do we want to do that? Just for the heck of it? All right, chat. I'm going to ask you guys. I got two names. They're right next to each other here. We're either going to go Carson Vinson, small school guy with, I think, plenty of potential at offensive tackle from Alabama A&M, or Thor Griffith and beef up the interior defensive line. We did take a stud D lineman. We did. But again, there really isn't edge left, and if we want to take any other shot at defensive line, we go that route. I'm still leaning Vinson because we've done it, but what does everyone else think? Arizona is a jerk. They took where would have been the easy plug-in pick here. They took them right in front of us. I don't like them. Them and the Chargers. We got beef right now in this mock. Okay, Drew says Vinson. I think that's the route we take here. I like it. I actually thought he had a pretty decent week down in Mobile. Wasn't overwhelmed. He is the size is like really intriguing too. 6'6" and 7/8", 314, guys. Center to compete with Monk. Could do that. But here's my thing about this, right? I think we got our guy. I think we have our guy here. That's what I'm drafting him Bow to be. I think he's the guy. To me. Now, Drew Kendall is a center who's pretty good. Was he at the Shrine? Drew Kendall. Not on this team. Yeah, 6'3", 304. Yeah, that's my thought. That's the thought right now. That's my big brain play in this mock. Yeah. let's do that. Let's take the big swing. We're not going to get this swing very often. So let's end it with Vincent. We're going to go Vincent. Mbao at center is the play. That's the play. They said draft Jalen Royals. No thanks. Jay Higgins being an F is just hilarious. Why? Why he an F? He's not. Got a B minus. That's fine. We aced the first round. I still think this is a pretty good day 2 and 3. Mbao, Bryant, Williams, Bryant, Higgins, Gadsden, and Vincent. So Mbao, really like that. I don't need a wide receiver that looks like he's running a quicksand. That's fair. The other option I think was at 123 could have gone edge. Then I would have targeted somebody like Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville, who's a big play guy. That was an option, but I don't mind this at all. Especially the first 4, Nolan and Mbao, Bryant, Noel Williams. Yeah, that is the Alabama A&M guy. If he's here, that's crazy. He probably won't be at 251. But in this mock, we did that. So there you go. Walter Nolan, Marcus Mbao, Kobe Bryant, Noel Williams, Pat Bryant, Jay Higgins, Oronde Gadsden, the second, and Carson Vincent is your mock. That's going to do it. I think for us tonight, we almost went 2 hours, which is was not in the plan. But we did it for y'all. So hope you guys like that. We'll get some final questions and thoughts in here for the end. But thank you so much. Obviously, sub if you're new. I think we pretty much the usual suspects in here tonight, which is always fun. Glad we could do this tonight. I was hoping to get one in this week. Was going to try to do it tomorrow or Friday. Works out that there wasn't a kind of a quote unquote content spot open tonight with the live shows, because I know there's a lot of crossover with who you guys watch. But it was also good to see some people, like Dana, who comes in just to talk draft, like Adam who came in and asked about the Steelers. It's always good to have more people in here talking about that. I'm trying to widen the base a little bit more for y'all Packers fans, letting y'all know that. There's still going to be Packers videos, right? But I'm going to make sure there's more open stuff. It's going to be a little more unique channel, not going to be focused on that. So I appreciate you guys coming in for that. Adam says, thoughts on Ja Joyner? I like Ja Joyner. He is – can I come over here? Yeah. I'm going to come over here just because you asked about him. I mean – looks big enough to me. This look like a Green Bay guy. It seems like it to me. 6'4", 263, 34 and 1/8 inch arm length. I think he's very much in play later for Green Bay at edge if they go that route. The size, all that fits for me. So yeah. It looks pristine. The fit, that I should say. So. Monster class. Yeah, it's a lot of bigs. And then Kobe Bryant. But Packers Kingdom says they want Trey Harris and Jack Betch. Trey Harris would fill the explosive element immediately, which would be perfect. So I don't mind that at all, honestly. But we met with Joyner. We met with Joyner. Met. Yes. Yeah. Usually when you see a guy met with somebody at the Senior Bowl, they've probably met with most people down there. Usually they try to get to everybody. But yes, they do obviously make some notable ones. And the notable ones are big because they're usually Packers fits, like Joyner. So he's definitely one to watch. There's no doubt. Imagine if we went D-line, and overhauled interior D-line. So that's funny. Drew, that you mentioned that, because I'm going to go to the profile here. I retweeted this last week because we did this. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? This is the one we did with PTA last week. You mentioned DT, Collins, Harmon as a duo. 1 tech, 3 tech. We went Membo. This is a bigs draft. And then we somehow got Williams, Riley, and Ware. Nutty draft this was. But yeah, the D-line thing, I think it's in play. It might be edge D-line, but like that's something there. So there you go. That's a fun one to look at. But that was a fun mock. We'll definitely do probably more of these in the future. I'm going to, kind of like last year where I'll let you guys make some selections, right? And I'll pick for the other teams, or we'll throw some wrinkles in there. I'm going to have some guests on for sure that kind of do that as well. So stick around, keep that notification bell on for other videos, because we're going to have more prospects coming through for the next few months, right? Hopefully starting tomorrow, as I'm going to get to work quickly after this. So there's going to be a lot more prospect stuff. There will be rookie reviews on the channel, not Green Bay always, but Green Bay will be included. And also, for those who would be interested, right, the membership tiers are going to open up. There's probably going to be an extra video a week for some membership stuff that I'm working on. So if you're interested in that, you can always take a peek at that as well. But, yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Dana, of course, says, may your cheese curds be fresh, your losses be the Cardinals. Nice. Rooting for the Cardinals to get a bounce back here. MHJ should be a bounce back guy, but I'm excited to see what they do in the first as well. Dana, we will definitely have probably some crossover with the CPGM guys and others doing some mock drafts live, which will be fun as well. So plenty of different content coming down the pipe on this channel going forward. So thank you guys all so much. For those who stuck around, for those who were here early, for those who just popped in, right? I know Airsjoy and Drew and Adam and Fred and Packers Kingdom, right? We're a big part of this tonight. Obviously, Dana and then Adam Vincent came in. Bates was here, too old for this. All the Lee, all the usual suspects. BX Jedi came in, obviously. Packer Fam 1418 got some shouts from like Tonezilla. Chris N was here. So like a lot of the usual suspects. And if you're just chilling and not commenting, that's also fine too. And I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you all. And good night. I will hopefully see you at the very least live next week. So farewell.